Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I wanted to talk to you guys about my labor and delivery story for my daughter Emmalynn. And if you're new to my channel, this is my daughter. This is my big girl. Yes, you are. She is 8 months old, about to be 9 months in a few weeks. How cute is her outfit though? Look at this. Look at this little cute onesie. Look at the back, guys. It's like a halter top. How cute is that? So if you're new, this is my daughter, and one thing that unfortunately I wish yes, one thing unfortunately we did not do was start vlogging until she was like 3 months old. So you want to get down? Okay, let me put you down. So unfortunately, one thing that I did not get to capture on film with my beautiful daughter was my pregnancy with her, our labor and delivery story, and her month-to-month updates. That is, I don't want to necessarily say that that's a regret of mine, because I am happy that I got to share those intimate moments with my husband, my daughter, our families, without a camera being involved. However, it is sad because I know that whenever we do have another child, I will be vlogging throughout and doing pregnancy updates and filming the birth, and that's not something I got to do with her. So it does make me sad, and that's not something I can look back on and revisit that whenever I want, because it's not there. I can only see it in my mind, and which is still a wonderful thing, because I am so eternally grateful for being blessed with an amazing little girl like I am. So moving on, first thing, let me start off by saying, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and thumbs up this video if you think it's a good one, and subscribe, because whenever we do get pregnant, we are going to be vlogging it all and doing all kinds of updates and gender reveal parties and fun things like that, and you don't want to miss out. So, but getting into the video, this is about my labor and delivery story with my beautiful daughter Emmalynn, and I happened to be overdue. At the time, we lived in Texas because my husband was stationed there, and currently we live in Florida. So we were in Texas, which meant that none of our family was close to us. We didn't have his parents, my mom, you know, etc. And we were just kind of on our own there, and that was okay. And I happened to be working a part-time job when I was there, and while I was working, I had taken my maternity leave about 2 weeks before I thought Emmalynn would be born. So I stopped working when I was 38 weeks pregnant, and because I wanted to, you know, okay, if she is coming early, I wanted to have off, you know, the 39th week of pregnancy, and I wanted to have off that 40th week, because technically by that point she could have come anytime. Between those 2 weeks, I did stay home, and I had not dilated or anything. I was at a whopping 1 centimeter dilated, I think, throughout the whole few weeks. So, you know, when you're a first-time mom, you're like, oh, I'm 1 centimeter, that means she's coming any day now. And that's not the case. I mean, you could be 1 centimeter dilated for weeks and no baby. So I was under the assumption that maybe she would come within, you know, the 39th week and possibly the 40th. Well, when the 39th week went by and the 40th week went by, I'm like, okay, so when is she coming? Like, what is going on here? I hadn't anticipated me being overdue. So the 41st week, I went to the doctor's office to see my doctor, and if you hear any noise, by the way, it's Emmalynn. She's sitting right in front of me. I went to my doctor, and she had said, you know, when do you want to be induced, basically? She said, you know, you're overdue. We could technically induce you, you know, tomorrow, the next day, you know, yada yada. And I said, okay, well, the sooner the better in my mind, because I was tired of being pregnant, and my ankles, guys, were like just like this. My husband had to massage my huge ankles all the time, which I'm grateful he did, because oh my gosh, worst pain ever. So at that time I was like, the sooner the better. And she had said, okay, you know, on a Thursday morning, she said, you're gonna go into the hospital and let them know that you're there to be induced. You know, she told me what time to go in, etc. Well, and this was a Tuesday or a Monday when I went in to see her. So the following day, which would be a Wednesday, was I started having contractions. And I had been having the Braxton Hicks contractions. So in my mind, I wasn't thinking that they were anything, because I'd been so used to having Braxton Hicks and getting my hopes up thinking that she was coming when she wasn't. So at this point I had contractions, and they were about 30 minutes apart, which is nothing. And so, you know, my husband was at work and I was home, and I texted him and I said, you know, I just want to let you know I am having contractions. They are about 30 minutes apart, so they're nowhere near close yet, but I wanted you to, you know, be on the lookout, which he was. He always had his phone with him just in case I did call and said that, you know, you need to come home, it's time to go to the hospital. So throughout that entire day, I pretty much had contractions consistently about every 30 minutes. And as we got into the evening, they started to get a little bit closer together. And, you know, they went from, you know, the 30 to the 15-minute mark. And they weren't painful. I just knew that they were happening. So I went about my normal routine, you know, get ready for bed, shower, etc. I did have my hospital bags packed and everything was ready to go in case. And I had just, you know, said, you know, tomorrow morning I'm gonna get induced anyways. So we had everything by the door ready. So later that night, it's about 9 o'clock, and I'm starting to be in pain. I'm hurting. I'm having bad contractions. They're not just easy going anymore. I started walking around the apartment that we lived in, and it got to the point where they were about 8 minutes apart and I couldn't breathe through them anymore. And it finally got to about 1 in the morning. I told my husband to go to bed when it first started happening, about 9. I said, go to bed. I don't want you to stay up with me when it could be nothing. You know, I don't want you to be tired for work, because he had said that, you know, oh no, that wasn't that. He wasn't gonna go to work the next day because we were being induced. Anyways, I didn't want him to be tired, so I said, you know, go to bed. I'm gonna stay up, because I obviously can't sleep like this. So he went ahead and went to sleep, and I'm pacing around the apartment trying to breathe through things, and I finally woke him up, and I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. I have to go. Like, I don't care if they're not 5 minutes apart. I don't care if they tell me to go home. I will sit my butt in that waiting room till the next morning when they're inducing me. I do not care. Take me to the hospital. So my husband says, okay. So we got ready, which was obviously easy, sweatpants, t-shirt, whatever. We got our bags and we got in the car and we drove to the hospital, and the drive there was rough. I was in a lot of pain. I felt like they were coming quicker. At this point, I stopped timing them, and every bump we hit, it was like, it just made it worse. I wanted to cry. And we finally get to the hospital, and, you know, we go into the little triage center, and, you know, they test your cervix, and she checked it, and she said, you know, you're 3 centimeters dilated, and they admit you, I think, when you're 4 centimeters. But because I was being induced the following morning, they went ahead and kept me. Anyways, they admitted me. So they monitored my contractions pretty much the entire night and gave me pain medication to help that. And they started my epidural pretty early, which was lucky because I was in a lot of pain. So they gave me my epidural, and after they monitored my contractions for hours. I mean, like I said, we finally got to the hospital probably around 3 in the morning, probably till 8 a.m., 7 a.m. that morning. They were monitoring my contractions to see if I actually needed to be induced or if I could go ahead and do labor on my own. I'm talking about you. I'm talking about you. She's looking at me. So anyway, so they monitored my contractions, and eventually I couldn't feel anything, obviously, because I had the epidural. So they came in and they said, look, you know, you're not you're not going into full labor on your own. Your contractions have grown apart, and you're still only about 4 centimeters now. So they told me what I needed to do was go ahead and get a Pitocin drip. So I said, okay. You know, obviously, like anybody is, I was hoping to just go into labor on my own. I never planned on a natural labor. I always planned on having the epidural. But I just imagined myself not having to have Pitocin. I just didn't see that for myself. But I was prepared for anything and everything. At least I felt that I was. So they started my Pitocin drip, and you know, throughout the day they came in and checked my cervix and checked my contractions, and yes, I'm sorry for her screaming. And finally, it's about 3:30. Yes. 3:30, they come in and they check me, and they say, "You're ready to push." What are you doing? She's in this phase where she wants to scream at everything. So they come in 3:30, and they say, "You're screaming when I'm talking." They say, you're ready to push. So I obviously am excited. Josue is by my side. It's just him and I. We don't have any other family there. And I pushed for an hour. It was great. It was easy. It was amazing. And an hour later, my chunky daughter was born. She was born at 4:44 p.m. on June 9th, 2016. And she weighed 7 pounds, 14 ounces, and she was about 21 inches in length. So she was a big kid. And I always felt that she was big throughout my pregnancy, because towards the end, the doctor would say, okay, well, you're not going to feel her as much in your ribs anymore, because now she's making her way down the pelvis. So you won't feel her legs in your ribs. And I'm like, okay, that's great, because the whole time, all I could ever feel was her legs up there, and it hurt so bad. So at the end of my pregnancy, even to the day I gave birth, I could still feel her legs up in my ribs. So she made her way down, but she was long. So I did have some, I don't know if I want to say complications or not. I guess that's kind of what it was. Nothing dangerous, but I did have suffer from a 2nd-degree tear when I gave birth to my daughter. I was in excruciating pain the following day. It was awful, awful. And they would give me pain medicine. It didn't seem to help. I would shake because I was in pain so bad. Oh my God, it was terrible. But I'm extremely blessed and lucky. I had such an amazing husband by my side to help take care of me. And he helped take care of Emmalynn, and still does to this day. One other thing that Emmalynn had when she was born was jaundice. She suffered from sort of a severe jaundice. Nothing that was highly dangerous, but she was at a dangerous level. So she had to be under what's called the Billy lights. She had to be under that for 3 days. Normally with somebody who gives vaginal birth, they go home the following day, so they only stay 1 day in the hospital. But because she had severe jaundice, we stayed in the hospital for a total of 4 days, 3 nights. And that was hard. It was hard putting her under those lights. I cried like a baby because I never gave birth. I didn't know what those were. I felt terrible. She was just under there, like sun tanning all day. I wanted to hold her and be with her, and it was hard, but she's happy and she's healthy, and that's all that I could ever want for her, is that she is 100% okay. And we went home 4 days later, and all was well. And that's my labor and delivery story. It was amazing. I think about it all the time. It's memories that I will hold in my heart forever. And our next child will be another amazing story, and that'll be another thing that will hold a place so near and dear to my heart for the rest of my life. So as always, thank you guys for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video despite somebody screaming the entire time. Let me get her. You were screaming the entire time. Yes, you wanted the attention. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Say bye-bye. Say thank you for watching. She's looking out the window in case you guys were wondering. There she goes screaming again. But as always, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you in our next video. Bye. Say bye-bye. Bye-bye.